bell tolls. The midnight hour is upon us. It's time once again for two internet strangers to discuss the good and evil of the horror genre. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the terror within the Hallow-Holics Anonymous podcast.
Maddy, what are you doing?
I'm tired of being stuck in this interdimensional rift movie theater, Corey. We've got to get out of here before space and time implode.
I say we just stay here and help will be on the way.
Now listen, Corey. You've got two choices here. Stay down here with the gremlins that somehow found their way into the dimensional rift with us. Or fight. Now look up there, Corey. At that hole in the ceiling I've only just now noticed for narrative purposes. Up there is hope. It's a way out, and I'm going to go there. Come with me.
I've got a better idea. Let's start the podcast instead.
Hi, I'm Maddy.
And I'm Corey.
And this is Hallow-Holics Anonymous,
a show dedicated to all things horror and occasionally Halloween.
News has been crazy lately, huh?
Like real news or horror news?
Real news. But horror news is a type of real news.
Oh, you know what I mean. Yeah, it's difficult out there.
We're not going to get political, but
some would say scary. Others would say something to keep an eye on. Mm-hmm. I'm in the something to keep an eye on phase.
I think it's somewhere in the middle, but it's kind of perfect that it suits our episode, which is about disasters.
Mm-hmm. Different kind of disasters.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, those Contagion movies kind of fall in the same category.
True. I was trying to think of a way to make these fit, and I'm like, I know. The world has it's these movies are all about what we have the most of, water and space. And I realized that made no sense. I like this outbreak thing better you've got going on.
That is a very razor thin.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't going to bring it up.
It's like if we were talking about Nightmare on Elm Street and you said, everybody lives on streets.
Yeah, and that's probably something I would say if we were doing Nightmare on Elm Street right now.
Oh, well, the movie I picked for this week, The Poseidon Adventure from 1972.
Mine was the most expensive Disney film of its time, the Michael Bay classic, the almost perfect film, Armageddon.
Almost perfect, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Yes, we will.
Is there something you'd like to tell the listeners right now, though?
Horror Pack.
Yes, ASMR week.
I gotta find my light. It's dark in here. Okay. Professionalism. I don't even have these in order.
See, he's got his light. He's feeling that button there. Listen to that click.
That's last. That's second.
That's a nice sound. The clicking of that flashlight and the DVDs hitting the desk.
How was that? Was that ASMR enough
that
for
felt
you?
good. That felt good.
I'm glad. I hope I've lulled you to sleep. All right. Horror Pack is actually, well, not really good. There's one really good movie in here as far as I'm concerned. The rest are questionable at best.
Okay, so typical Horror Pack.
Yeah, pretty typical. Only I'm really super excited that I got one of these. All right, which actually is pretty common too now that I think about it. I've only not been super excited about getting one of these movies 4 or 5 times, huh?
Yeah.
So a college student who will do just about anything for internet fame is kidnapped by a fan, Maddy.
Oh.
And her reluctant roommate is the only one who can save her in this horror satire of popularity culture from the directors of Blood of the Tribades.
Tribades.
Tribades?
Spell it.
Anyway, it's Tribade.
It's got to be Tribades.
Tribades.
It's got to be Tribades.
Maybe it's Tribades.
Oh, well. Go on.
Anyway, the movie's called Clickbait. And it's got a phone with cleavage and rope on the front. It's the Horror Pack limited edition.
Okay, so the phone has boobs?
Well, I mean, like a selfie of boobs.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So you only die once. Make sure it's live, Maddie. That's good advice. Next up, we have a movie directed by somebody named Sebastian Gutierrez. And it's called Elizabeth Harvest. I wonder if this is a Bathory thing. Because that Elizabeth harvested stuff. Mostly kid blood.
Yeah, mostly the blood of young girls.
Nothing is as it seems in this brain-bending plunge into our darkest desires. Elizabeth, Abby Lee from the Neon Demon, a beautiful young newlywed arrives at the palatial estate of her brilliant scientist husband, Henry, played by a dude from Justice League that, Ciarán Hinds, I think. No, that can't be him. No, it's played by some dude from that movie that nobody liked.
I liked Justice League.
Well, it was okay.
I mean, I didn't absolutely love the bit with, like, Cyborg and all that, and Aquaman's introduction was pretty badass. I enjoyed it.
You didn't like the bit with Cyborg? He's in most of the movie.
Yeah, he's never been my favorite character.
Fair enough. I think he's better in Doom Patrol for sure. All right. So anyways, ensconced in modernist luxury with an obedient, if slightly unsettling house staff, a bunch of people, she has seemingly everything she could want. But one mystery tantalizes her. What is behind the locked door to Henry's laboratory that he has forbidden her to enter?
Okay, so very Blackbeard.
Yes? Blackbeard had a laboratory?
Well, no, but she couldn't go into a room.
What, did he not let people on his boat?
Well, no, Blackbeard. No. Blackbeard the fairy tale.
Oh.
It's this evil guy who takes women to his home, and he's like, you can go anywhere and have anything you want in this place, in my castle, except going into that one room. And if you go into it, he'll know, and then he murders you, chops you up, and throws your body parts in there. His boat, you mean? No, Blackbeard was not a... pirate. No. The real guy, Bluebeard. Bluebeard. Oh, I'm stupid. Bluebeard is the fairy tale, not Blackbeard. Oh, well, Bluebeard's probably a pirate, too. Where was I on this? It doesn't even matter. This sounds terrible. Elizabeth Harvest casts a spell of creeping gothic menace as it unravels a disturbing tale of identity, obsession, and twisted love. I don't know. I recognize two people from the cast. The one is the lady from Gerald's Game, Carla Gugino. And then the old dude, like, I recognize him. Like, he's a character actor. He's in a bunch of stuff. Okay, that helps. Oh, he played Mance Rayder in Game of Thrones. The leader of the wildlings that Jon Snow kills in, like, season 2 or 3. I watched the entire series, and I know exactly who you're talking about. No, it's okay. I'm not a Game of Thrones purist. It's okay if you didn't watch it. Okay, I stopped at the end of the first season. That's actually a pretty good place to stop. All right, next up is the Kevin Bacon vehicle from the producers of The Purge and Insidious, The Darkness. Includes a shocking alternate ending. Have you seen this? Shocking, you say? Yeah, I say shocking. I don't think I've seen it. He was good in Stir of Echoes. Yeah, that's true. I mean, Kevin Bacon is generally pretty good. Yeah. So this is about when their young son brings home 5 mystical stones he found on their family's camping trip to the Grand Canyon. Peter and Bronny begin to notice strange things happening in their house. Having awakened dark forces bound to the rocks, the family fights for survival as malicious demons feed off their fears and threaten to destroy them. So did they just think Hawaii was overdone? Yeah, that is pretty much that Brady Bunch episode, huh? The 2-parter. Mm-hmm. I love how they brought the tiki guy into the film. Yeah, I thought that was cool, too. We should do those eventually. I actually really, really like those movies. I think they're disturbingly 70s enough in the films to figure out a way to... No, we can just do it off like a silly episode where it's not horror. Wait, are you talking about the OGs or the remakes? The remakes. Okay, yeah. The movies, not the series. I really don't want to talk about the TV series much.
No. But yeah, the remakes, they're the perfect remakes as far
They
as I'm
are.
concerned. Like they did. Oh, it was just, they did those
perfect.
so well. Yeah.
Slap. Cut my hair.
All right, and finally, the director's cut of Drag Me to Hell. Yes.
Oh.
I really like this movie. I haven't seen it since it came out, but I remember really liking it because of that creepy witch lady.
I'm in the same boat there. Well, I also liked it because like Sam Raimi's humor came through so nicely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
bitch.
it's actually a better mix, I think, of his humor and horror. You know, it leans a little more towards the horror end of things. Yeah, I really dug it. So Christine Brown is on her way to having it all, a devoted boyfriend, a hard-earned job promotion, a bright future. But when she's forced to make a tough decision that evicts an elderly woman from her house, Christine becomes the victim of an evil curse. Now she has only 3 days to dissuade a dark spirit from stealing her soul before she is dragged to hell for an eternity of unthinkable torment.
I think she deserved it.
I do too.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're on the same page here.
Also, I don't care about that old lady, so I probably deserve it too.
Well, the old lady certainly, her anger was a bit much.
Yeah.
I mean, she had a huge family. She, even, pride aside, she could have stayed with any of them.
I don't remember that either. I do remember thinking that, like, oh, that sucks. Eviction's not cool, but that lady's awful.
Well, yeah, but she was sick and dying. And she had made loyal payments for years and years and years. And she was nice at first until, she was humiliated.
Oh, see, that I don't remember that at all. I definitely have to go back and watch it. I mean, sick people are generally dicks. They're so needy.
Yeah. It's almost
That's
as if
the
they're
main
like
reason I
dying
hate
or
what's
something.
going on right now. Like, the main problem with society right now and the coronavirus is everybody just wants stuff from you. Oh, I need this test. Oh, give me some medicine. Can I have some chicken soup?
Don't
I just
let
want
me
a couple more days to live.
Oh. I think we will both be dragged to hell momentarily.
Yeah, that's, if I don't already have it, that just guaranteed I'm going to get coronavirus. Or I'm sorry, COVID-19. Coronavirus is a bunch of viruses.
Yeah, let's not try to destroy an innocent beer company, guys.
It's too late. We live in a world of idiots. They're already tarnished.
Do you have any other movies?
No, that's it. I'm really impressed that we went from horror pack to coronavirus in 2 seconds. Yeah. Sick old lady got us there. So
sick old lady. I guess I should talk about,
this fuck. This shit.
What on earth?
This day in horror history.
No, I'm going to need more than that.
This better?
On this.
That's
deeper.
Is that a little more doable?
There's a little too much echo there.
Well, you said you wanted a
There we go. Okay, now, but you need to, do a dramatic voice.
This day in horror history.
All right, that's as good as it's going to get, guys.
I'll do a real one. I was just being a smartass. I'll do a real one. I was just being a smartass. Do you want a real one?
No, we're good with that one.
Okay.
You lost your chance. On March 9th in 1986, we saw the birth of Brittany Snow, who was in the 2008 remake of Prom Night. In 1958, Linda Florentino, who was in Men in Black, Acting on Impulse, and Jade, was born. In 1940, Raul Julia was born. And 1902, Will Geer, who played Grandpa Walton, but was also in Cold Blood, The Mystery of Edwin Drood, and the TV movie Isn't It Shocking, was born.
I saw none of that.
Well, 1902 is still pretty impressive.
Is it?
Well, yeah.
Like as a year, or is it a movie?
Yes, it's a very impressive year. It's 1 year bigger than 1901, Corey.
That's true. It's 1 year older.
No,
All right.
1 year bigger.
That was on this day in horror history.
All right. See, this is what I have to deal with, guys. This is what I have to deal with.
I'm sorry. I'm very tired.
I guess I'll launch into the first movie. The Poseidon Adventure.
Oh, this movie's so good.
Oh, it is.
I totally forgot it was 2 hours of just actors being abused. I love movies like that.
Yeah, with real effects.
Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. Spray more water on Gene Hackman's face.
Your attention, please.
Shelley, get back in that water. We're going to do another shoot.
Look at Fortnite. Do your own stunts.
Get up a minute.
And again, like, I know that Leslie Nielsen started as a dramatic actor, but it's impossible to see him and not he's going to do something.
Well, he got his comedic start in Airplane, which was a riff on all the disaster movies.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. And then just...
The ship is being flipped over, guys. That's why everybody's screaming.
I'm so excited to hear what you dug up about all this.
Oh, I dug up quite a bit, my friend. Oh, that bit. Oh, when he crashes through the glass.
Mm-hmm.
Our only chance. Don't listen to him. We've got to stay here till help arrives.
Oh, shut up, Purser.
From the captain, he's dead.
Yeah, you're right. Rather than just slapping the hysterical woman, he comforts her.
The boat tilted and he fell. The shaft blew up and he's dead. And that's it. Or do you want to make something more out of it? Johnny.
Uh-oh.
Keep your eyes on the ladder.
She was insufferable, though.
Well, it's funny is those two actors, well, I'll talk about them later, but they did not like each other.
Why, I'm going somewhere you're not going? Hold it. Do you know what a flash fire is? Well, mister, I'm not going to let you kill us. I'm going through that door, Mr. Rogo. You need to stand aside and close that door to keep the air from coming in.
It's like Ernest Borgnine and Gene Hackman were in a contest to ham it up. All right, so this is going to be just another full minute of screaming, so I'm going to...
Yeah, you're probably right.
Cut it now.
It's going to be a lot of, rushing water and shouting ladies.
Yeah, and then Ernest Borgnine and Gene Hackman arguing.
Loudly, because Gene Hackman really doesn't speak below a scream in this entire movie. I love Jesus!
Frank Drebin wasn't always a well-accomplished police detective. In fact, once he was a ship captain at the helm of one of the greatest seafaring disasters a cruise line has ever seen. Okay, now that I've got my Naked Gun joke out of the way, this is the story of a small group of people surviving a disaster when their ship gets flipped upside down during a massive storm. More than that, it's about human choice and deciding whether hope and God exist if you do nothing or fight for your life every step of the way.
See, because I'm a moron and only half pay attention to everything that's going on ever, I thought Ernest Borgnine's character was Frank Drebin. I'm like, oh, that's where Leslie Nielsen got the name from for that. Oh, okay. And then you finished your joke and I felt like a moron, but...
Well, I'm rather proud of myself for that.
Yeah, good job.
This was directed by Ronald Neame, who was a cinematographer, a producer, a director, and a screenwriter. He's best known for directing The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, a film that will remind you Maggie Smith may be the world's British great-grandma today, but once upon a time, she was a sex symbol. He also directed I Could Go On Singing, which was Judy Garland's last picture, and Scrooge, which was one of my all-time favorite film musicals. He also directed an Alec Guinness movie, The Card, which is also another one of my favorite movies. And he produced the penultimate 1948 Oliver Twist. And I just can't help but mention that he also directed another disaster movie with a theme remarkably similar to the next one we're going to discuss, Meteor. It's about...
Oh, he's directed Meteor. Huh.
Yeah. It's about meteors headed towards Earth during a bunch of political strife, and the only way to stop them is to launch missiles at them. So it's pretty much Armageddon.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
A little less technical. Armageddon, if it was realistic, actually, is what Meteor is. But we'll get to that when we...
Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe that's what NASA would try first, and it would cost a little less.
Well, I have stuff to say about that.
Well, the music was by John Williams. I think we all know John Williams.
He's done a couple of things some people have heard of, I think.
Also, Joel Hirschhorn and Alfred Kasha, who did they're the monsters who brought us the only song from this movie you'll remember, whether you like it or not. The Morning After. They wrote it in one night. Corey,
that makes sense.
Would you like to sing a little bit of that song for me?
If I retained any of it whatsoever, I would.
There's
but
got to be a morning after.
Yeah, I didn't even remember that. Because
my God.
any of those like half-assed folk songs from movies like this just go in one ear and out the other, unless it's like about Charles Manson or like the murderer of the film.
Well, you know that song, they won an award for it.
I'm sure they did. I don't know why.
The film was adapted from a novel by Paul Gallico of the same title.
That's like the least award-worthy thing in this entire. I don't mean to interrupt, but that song sucks. If the Poseidon Adventure deserves awards, just not for that stupid crap, folky, mustache-having idiot song. I hate it.
And yet, it's catchy.
Sorry, please continue.
This was adapted from the novel by Paul Gallico of the same title. I haven't read it, but it has a lot more characters. And frankly, I think the amount of characters we had for the film was just right. We did not need any more. The fact that they had so many in the end was pretty impressive, because usually these disaster movies, you end up with one or two characters left, you know?
That was another problem I had, though. There were so many characters that I forgot, and like they didn't really spend a whole lot of time on all of them. So every once in a while, like that dude who died in the shaft when they were climbing up the ladder, don't remember who
Roddy
he was.
McDowell?
Yep. Now that you're saying that, I totally remember who he was. But when he died at the time, I just didn't remember that was Roddy McDowell.
Well, what's funny is, like, maybe you'd only remember all these characters just because a lot of them were big names. This was an all-star cast.
It really was a great cast.
Yeah. I mean, Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Red Buttons, Carol Lindley, Roddy McDowell, Stella Stevens, Shelley Winters, Jack Albertson, Pamela Sue Martin, Arthur O'Connell, Eric Shea, Fred Sadoff, Sheila Avon, Jan Arvin, Byron Webster, etc., etc., etc. Not all of those names are massively famous, and obviously much less famous today, but, Leslie Nielsen. But it's a pretty awesome cast, all in all.
It's if you don't know movies from this time period, it's still, you're gonna watch and be like, oh, I've seen him before. Oh, that guy.
Yeah, some of them are still some of them are still alive and performing. Most of them aren't, but some of them are. So that's something.
Now that I've seen Roddy McDowell, I'm gonna have to watch Haunting of Hill House again.
Oh man, he's so good in that. Belasco.
Is it Hill House or Hull House? Which one is that one?
Haunting of Hell House.
Hell House, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it gets confusing. There's so many hauntings of different houses.
And they all start with H's.
Yeah. The Haunting of Holy House, the Haunting of Helly House, the Haunting of Holly House. I mean, it just...
Haunting of Harvey's House. That's my favorite.
That's the one with the imaginary bunny, and he invests in real estate, right?
Yes.
Harvey is a...
I know.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I live in Jimmy Stewart's hometown. Believe me, I'm inundated with that shit constantly. Dude, we've got, like, when you cross our main street, there's this impersonation. It sounds like this, this is Jimmy's store, and it's all right for you to cross the street now, and this is how I talked all the time like I'm in the midst of a stroke. Please cross the street.
Okay, are you telling me you don't love Jimmy Stewart?
I don't hate him.
Lucy is angry. Lucy is angry that you don't love Jimmy Stewart.
No, I don't hate him. I just really hate walking down Main Street in the middle of the night and hearing, "Oh, this is Jimmy Stewart. Go ahead and cross the street." It's another, like, living in a dying town that's clinging to the past instead of, like, finding ways to move on. You know what I mean? So, like, that's sort of what Jimmy Stewart represents to me.
I can't imagine if, like, Temple, where my parents live, if they were, like, as obsessed with Rip Torn because he was born there, you know?
See, I'd be happier if it was Rip Torn instead of Jimmy Stewart.
I gotta admit, having all of the walk signals with Rip Torn's voice would be pretty badass.
Exactly. It would just be slightly angry all the time. That I can handle.
Oh, I see a sign up ahead. It's subject. I'm gonna turn left here, and we're gonna just drive back towards the episode theme here. The screenplay was written by Wendell Mays.
See, that's why eventually we need I need to stop being lazy. We need transition. We need a button to press that reminds us to go back. That's dun dun, something like that.
The screenplay was written by Wendell Mays, who wrote Spirit of St. Louis, Anatomy of a Murder, and Death Wish. It was also co-written with Sterling Silliphant, who co-wrote the third Dirty Harry movie with Wendell, called The Enforcer. He also,
I know the Dirty Harry movies well.
Yeah.
I just tried to start watching them again, but I keep falling asleep. I can't get through the first one.
Well, on his own, Sterling Silliphant wrote the single, greatest motion picture epic about arm wrestling ever produced, Over the Top.
No way.
Yes.
That guy is instantly awesome if he's the one that wrote Over the Top. Mm-hmm. Oh.
And
when I mean business, I still turn my hat around.
While this film did win an award for the song Morning After, it got 2 Academy Awards, a Golden Globe, a BAF Award, a Motion Picture Sound Editors Award, and it was the second highest grossing picture of 1972 behind The Godfather.
That stuff is well deserved.
Yeah. It spawned a sequel, Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, which I haven't seen, but it was a major flop.
It's not terrible. It stars Telly Savalas, and they go to rob the ship or something. I forget. It's a robbery, and then the ship flips upside down, and all of a sudden it's Poseidon. It's beyond nothing. It's exactly the same movie again.
Not Beyond, but the original, the one we're talking about, is kind of an example of why I tend to prefer a lot of older movies over new ones. When it comes to action sequences, they're usually better placed. It's not all just action, action, action hitting you in the face. There's actually character development, proper dialogue. You're watching the people, not the explosions alone.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, you're not filming a movie unless somebody could die at any moment. That had to have been such a dangerous movie.
Yeah. Well, funny you should... Wait, this one?
Yeah.
Funny you should mention that, because except for the really, really dangerous stunts, like Gene Hackman dangling off of that valve over the fire, the actors did most of their own stunts.
Yeah, you can tell that. That's another thing I love about this movie is you can tell everybody does their own stunts.
Well, apparently they complained about it a lot too.
I'm sure they did. I'd be terrified if I was them.
Yeah, there's no way that actors like that today would be required to do as much physical work as these actors did, but it showed really nicely in the results because you didn't have to pull camera shots away when they were doing something a little dangerous. You could actually see their faces and not immediately think, wait a minute, that's not Shelley Winters, that's a fat guy in a wig, you know?
Exactly.
The 2000 remake of this is terrible though.
I'm gonna watch it again now.
Kurt Russell couldn't even save it
again as well. No, I can't remember who's who. Was Kurt Russell Gene Hackman?
No, Kurt Russell was Shelley Winters.
Really?
He did the whole swimming thing, and I think he was supposed to be Ernest Borgnine too.
Oh, that's right.
He was Shelley Winters or Ernest Borgnine.
That's right. I forgot all about that scene.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I got that, the shaft that Roddy McDowall falls in.
Yeah.
That's boiling in the remake, isn't it? Isn't that super hot water or something?
I think so, probably. And at first you think it's boiling in the original, but it's really just the turning waves because both McDowall falls into it and then Borgnine, I think, falls into it, but he climbs out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess McDowall just drowns. And I was sad that he died because I love Roddy McDowall, but...
Yeah, and now that you told me, I'm very sad. I love him.
Roddy is just wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, you and Roddy, you guys are BFFs.
Well, we do text each other a lot. I mean, he died, but that didn't slow it down.
Appropriate text, though, right?
Oh, yeah. No. I don't sex with Roddy McDowall.
Roddy McDowall's ghost. Listen how classy I was. I didn't say corpse there. I said ghost.
So the 1970s was all about disaster movies. My mom has told me this many a time because, she grew up in the 70s, so she watched all kinds of those, movies, good and bad. She kind of loves them. You've got examples like Towering Inferno, Airport, The Hindenburg, Earthquake, Avalanche, Skyjacked, Airport 1975, Damnation Alley. The list is really, really long, and most of them are forgettable. I'm not saying Towering Inferno is, because that movie's amazing, but unless you're Nicolas Cage...
Is that the O.J. Simpson's vehicle?
I think...
I can't remember, but I think he was in there.
There is a solid cast. A lot of these disaster movies tended to do the same kind of formula where they'd have a star-studded cast. But unless you're Nicolas Cage, you're probably not staying up late at night thinking about the killer bee epidemic that invaded Texas in The Swarm, or obsessing over the myriad ways your plane could be hijacked by James Brolin at any second, like in Skyjacked. Most of these disaster epics are pretty much forgotten by the average film watcher.
To be fair, disaster movies never really ended. They may have had a break in the 80s a little bit, and I bet if we think about it, we could come up with them. But they started right up again in the 90s.
I think right now disaster movies are superhero movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. But I just watched a YouTube video about, I don't remember what movie they were calling it, but they called maybe it was Rampage. I don't know. But they're all right, this is it. This is the last disaster movie. They're dead. I forget what it was.
Who knows?
Maybe
you can't really say a genre's dead because it comes back, it goes. It's all in cycles.
Oh, it's definitely not. They were joking. Oh, Paul Newman, not O.J. Simpson.
I love Paul Newman.
People get those two confused all the time.
They look a lot alike. Some people think that they're twins.
Tall, black, short, white, same thing to me.
It's the eyes.
He is in this. Yeah, he does have a big role in this.
Okay, but how can you tell the difference between them?
God, Steve McQueen's in that too.
Again, star-studded cast.
Well, maybe they play twins in this. OJ and Paul. See, I know them first name basis.
Well, the whole point of that is that Poseidon Adventure is simply one of the best disaster movies ever made, especially from the 1970s. And I really have to reiterate that the 2006 remake is terrible. And while I was reading about this, I realized there was also a 2005 remake that was made for TV. I haven't seen it, but it also looks terrible.
I have no memory of that one.
Yeah, well, it was a made-for-TV one.
Yeah, I usually skip that. Yeah. I probably didn't even have TV when that came out.
This is kind of a movie that has some of my favorite performances from Gene Hackman, Shelley Winters, and Jack Albertson, though, who, for listeners, that is the grandpa everybody hates in Willy Wonka when you dive too deep into Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, he's not that bad, guys. The only reason he could walk during that sequence is because he was so overjoyed from this experience, and he just came out of crippling depression so he could eat chocolate. Let him go.
Yeah, I think that's probably all of their problems. They were just real sad because they were poor.
Yeah.
And probably because of chemical imbalances.
Yeah, but chocolate solves all problems, as Willy Wonka taught them.
I just assumed that it was drugs that was in the candy.
There's this whole thing that it's Grandpa Jack, right?
I don't remember, but I think so. Joe Jack.
Grandpa Joe.
It's the name of a working man, Maddie.
Well, yeah, there's this whole thing online that he's just a horrible, horrible person, and everyone analyzes all the things he does in the movie and just breaks down what makes him just an evil, terrible grandfather. And it's just you're diving too deep into this story. At any rate, I love Jack Albertson, so.
I do too. And I mean, he's married to my only problem in this movie. And I loved her in this. I thought she was great. But her death is so comically bad.
The way she died, whole grabbing her chest.
It loses all meaning for me when she just kind of does that cheesy,
I would have preferred if she had just started breathing really quickly and slowly drifting into the water, from exhaustion or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It took her such a long time to die in Gene Hackman's arms, too. She just kept slowly, like, leaning backwards.
But I think
it was pretty rough.
She might have been a victim of an actor studying the symptom of something too much, to the point that they forget what makes it dramatic and they just want to do it as accurately as they think it should be presented, maybe?
That's possible.
Yeah.
You might be reaching there, but I can accept that.
Yeah, I respect Shelley enough to believe that that's what she did. Because she gained like 30 pounds for the role. It takes a while for this story to warm up, at least to the main arc. I think it was like 40 minutes in by the time the ship flipped over. But it's because they're doing such a good job with the setup. You don't get bored waiting for the action to happen because you're enjoying the stories. You're getting to know these characters, their personalities and faults, and sort of hints of the choices that they're going to make when this disaster happens. In fact, Gene Hackman's sermon in particular is really, really good. And it sums up who he is as a person before it's actually put to the test.
Also, he drooled on her when she was dying.
Well, he was crying, and crying isn't pretty. And sometimes an actor studies the technical elements.
He got mouth tears all over her.
That being said, I have a quotation from a very famous film reviewer I'm going to need you to read for the listeners.
I will do that, but before we go, I want to reinforce that I agree with everything you said about the beginning of the film. Like, it's fabulous. It's perfect, and you're right. I don't even think it's a matter of them spending too long on that. I think it was the right amount of time.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really do that anymore. We just want to rush to get to the exciting part because we forget that, okay, we're watching a movie not just for the exciting part. We want a good story.
Right. The build-up is important.
And that's what this movie delivered. However, Ebert had some things to say about it. And I'm just going to give you a short quotation to read for the listeners in his voice.
I don't know his voice.
Just do whatever pompous voice you'd imagine.
Right after airport.
Okay, you can't do the same British thing you do every time.
Suggested a low budget what?
Don't do the same British voice you always do. He's like New York.
Right after Airport came out, somebody suggested a low budget remake named Carport. That's more Boston. That's just bad.
You know what? That's not his voice at all, but I prefer to imagine it's his voice now.
It would have involved 6 people trapped inside. Now I'm just disabled.
You're turning into like a Southern Christopher Walken.
It would have involved 6 people trapped inside a runaway Volkswagen bus with a maniac on the wheel and a midget in the glove compartment with a cherry bomb. After seeing the Poseidon Adventure, I think it would have worked. There's no way the formula can fail. That was a little bit Jewish.
You went in all sorts of directions.
I couldn't commit. I just couldn't hold anything in there.
The point being is, like, he spends a whole page ripping this movie apart from every angle, and then at the end he's like, but I love the formula. However, this is a terrible movie. But you enjoy it. It's just like, okay, so are you saying you actually liked it or you really hated it? I just don't understand, Mr. Ebert. However, all of his opinions were pretty accurate.
Yeah. I had a friend who did that with a musician too. I can't remember, not Dave Matthews, but somebody along those lines where he was like, well, he's a great guitar player and his lyrics are really good and everything he does is great, but I can't stand him. Huh. But you just said you like everything he does. Yeah, but I can't stand him. So this makes me think of him.
Sometimes that's how I feel about James Franco.
Yeah, I can see that. I do want to see that weird post-apocalyptic movie he was in, though.
Huh. He's been in some good stuff. Actually, the End of the World one, that movie's terrible, but...
Oh, I'm sure it's awful, but I still want to see it.
But yeah, like, as is often the case with Ebert, he kind of nailed the film with his review and presented it like he hated it, and yet by the end of it, he almost admitted to liking it. Then he said it was awful. But he did give it a better score than he gave the Hindenburg, which was like, he gave it 1 star, which I can't believe, because the Hindenburg's not a bad movie, in my opinion.
The humanity.
Yeah, he hated the Hindenburg because it gave away the ending with the title. Okay.
Well, I mean...
So you're not allowed to...
The Titanic gave away the Titanic. Of course it gave it away.
He probably said that about the Titanic, too. I have no idea what he had to say about like a movie called World War II.
This is why I hate critics. This is why I just talk about movies in a critical way. I'm not a critic. Shit.
So models of the Queen Mary were used for a majority of the external shots. The film was shot in sequence so that the lead actors could be more convincingly dirty and worn out as the story progressed. They'd be wearing the same costumes, the same rips and stuff would be evident. And some shots were actually filmed on the real Queen Mary.
That's cool.
One of my favorite behind-the-scenes things I found on this was, other than the fact that, you know, Red Buttons and Carol Lindley hated working together and would only talk when the cameras were rolling, is that the film was almost damaged during shooting when a set being submerged malfunctioned and kept descending until the crew and the equipment were completely soaked in the water tank. They had to rush the film to the labs to see if it was still usable, and there was absolutely no damage.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And the set was actually run on hydraulics so that they could raise and lower these things into water tanks, which from a modern perspective, that's absolutely incredible. Because today we would probably just CGI the hell out of it and only put a little water in the room, maybe.
Yeah.
And the physical effect of that water pouring in is so much more, it just feels better to watch physical effects, and it always will, than digital, no matter how much we improve our skills at that, I think.
I agree. I mean, I at least need a decent, like, mixture of the two for CGI to actually work, you know, and I need it to be practical heavy. It can't be CG heavy or it just doesn't work for me. But this was, mixed with them all doing their own stunts. It was fantastic.
And what's funny is the budget pretty much ran dry right about at the end of the filming the final sequences, and when they took off from in the helicopter, they had to keep the camera focused downwards so you wouldn't see the buildings around the studio. And
that's actually impressive. I thought for sure you were going to tell me this movie was like way over budget because it's a giant film.
Well, it's kind of funny because originally it wasn't quite going to have the budget it had even, but the main producer, Irwin Allen, actually had to get outside backers to help when the budget was running dry because Fox agreed to match their investments. The story goes that he got his backers by going to a country club across from the studio lot and playing cards with a couple of his friends. But none of the backers, none of their money was actually spent. He only relied on the money that Fox agreed to match to what their investments would be. So it's like he pretty much told them, hey, guys, can y'all pretend to put up a couple million for this? Because Fox will put up a couple million if you say you will. And then he only spent the couple million that Fox put up for it. So those backers didn't have to spend any of their money, but they still made money off of the production by signing on.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about the Poseidon Adventure? I think I was pretty thorough here. It's an amazing movie. I love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I love it too. Again, aside from that lady, her death.
I think once the heart attack bit was over, it was very sad that she died.
Yeah, once I didn't have to look at her anymore, it was sad. But
I just realized I've been on share screen the entire time here. Were you looking at my notes?
No.
Okay.
I was looking at my other screen.
Okay.
I have 3 screens to look at. We're good.
Okay. But
so now,
yeah, I guess it's time to, if that's all you have to say, I guess it's time to transition to a much larger budgeted, more well-known picture.
A near perfect.
Yeah, near perfect.
Yes.
Near perfectly terrible.
No, this movie is amazing.
The only thing I remembered about this movie before I watched it was that Aerosmith music video.
Okay, there's 2 things that make this movie not perfect, and that's one
Gracie
of them.
grew up to become a full-blown hottie.
You're talking about my little girl, all right?
But you
Owen Wilson was wasted in this. Like, not drunk. He was just like, Owen Wilson.
It's a meteor shower.
They could have done so much more with him, but he hadn't really, it was like the beginning of his career, you know?
How big?
It's what we call a global.
He didn't have any lines, and he wasn't very interesting.
Not even bacteria.
The United States government just asked us to save the world.
He rode a motorcycle, that was about it.
Think we'll get hazard pay out of this?
They'll do it. They've made a few requests, though.
I love that scene.
Oscar here has got some.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty
parking
funny.
Tickets. Max would like you to bring back 8-track tapes.
What the hell, Max?
Yeah, one more thing. None of them want to pay taxes again.
Ever.
United States astronauts train for years. You have 12 days.
You stick that in me, I'm going to stab you in the heart with it.
On July 1st.
Tell me you've never...
I will say they did a good job at making me like the characters enough to be sad when they died. Except for Owen Wilson. I only cared because I like Owen Wilson already.
Will be man.
Oh, yeah.
This hour.
I'm marrying you.
He was... I will admit they do some of the characters dirty in this.
It's like he was the only part of this movie, and he was the only good part of the remake of The Haunting.
Will Patton. And Steve Buscemi.
Buscemi?
All the time.
Can't say his name?
We have 18 minutes to zero barrier.
He's all they've got.
We all gotta die, right? I'm the guy who gets to do it saving the world.
This was when the world still loved Ben Affleck.
We never quit!
Not funny. I'm not laughing because it's funny that Bruce Willis died. I'm laughing because, like, this movie's so good.
You just revealed the ending.
It's like 30 years old. Who cares? 20 years old.
22.
22, yeah.
Which is kind of crazy to think that, like, okay, so when this came out, Poseidon Adventure was like 26 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So before I forget, there's a few things I want to say about the trailer. Number one, when he's reading off their demands, they actually wrote that stuff themselves. Michael Bay had them all write on those pieces of paper. So Bruce Willis is actually rifling through all those actors' nonsense.
I like that.
It's pretty great. Steve Buscemi was on board only because he thought he was going to be playing a genius geologist. He was hoping that this was going to be the movie that would, like, make him not be seen as, like, this sleazy dude anymore.
Aww.
And they added all the sleazy crap in later.
Aww, Steve.
Yeah, so, like, yeah. So Michael Bay was peak Michael Bay during this movie, which is equal parts
It was like one of his first few movies.
What's that?
One of his first few movies.
Yeah. This is after, like, this was very, very deep into my love for Michael Bay movies, though, because this is right after, this is 3, I think, years after the first Bad Boys.
This was before everyone started saying,
95.
Michael, do whatever you want.
Yeah. And because he got to do whatever we want, he created this near perfect piece of art that we have forever called Armageddon. Oh my God. It's so scientifically inaccurate.
Oh my gosh.
It's so cheesy. It's so over the top, and it's so America. It's so
God, yeah.
Yeah, like
it is very America.
After a Trump rally, half the country watches Armageddon.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've even got a Russian guy. Mm-hmm. And America loves Russia now.
Oh, that's true. It's so American. It's so American that they were allowed to use all this billion-dollar equipment. Like, they were actually on an oil rig. They actually got to use NASA's training facilities because of the patriotism in the movie. Like Michael Bay, because he just used patriotism, he got to do all this stuff. Like, the fact that those jets did that flyby at the end, that's something that, like, heroes get. That's like people who died fighting terrorists after 9/11, that specific, well, it was slightly different what the jets did, but that sort of maneuver is like the lost man maneuver. They only do that for heroes that die in war.
And now they did it for Michael Bay.
Do a version for a dead fake oil rig driller. Insane and wonderful. So the only two things that make this movie not perfect to me is the Aerosmith soundtrack. Sweet Emotion works during the training montage just fine. I'm okay with that.
The porn song is weird.
Yeah, that's a really creepy song. And the like main, whatever it's called, the main theme that they did is pretty awful too.
I don't want to close my eyes.
Yeah, that one.
I don't want to fall asleep.
Plus, Liv Tyler is making out with, why can't I think of his name? Not Matt Damon. Ben Affleck. To, like, her dad singing a love song. That's weird. Right? That's creepy.
Yeah. Just a little.
Like, I don't want my dad serenading me when a dude's playing with animal crackers on my cleavage. Which brings me to the final thing that makes this movie not perfect. That stupid animal crackers scene. That is the worst scene ever put on film.
Yeah. I think it was like them telling Ben Affleck to be romantic, and since he's a robot, he didn't quite make the connection in his brain circuits.
Yeah. So, I haven't even gotten to my notes yet. That's how much I love this movie. This was filmed on something like 1 million feet of film or something insane like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I forget where, yeah, there's just so much to this movie.
And it only took 16 weeks to film.
Exactly. This whole thing was, you can make perfection in 16 weeks. That's crazy.
It's a little dated. I'm not saying my movie's not dated, but it's also a little, both of these movies are dated very clearly in their own times.
Yeah, very, very much. This is very, very late 90s. Like, you've got Space 9/11 before actual 9/11, because you've got the towers being, like, destroyed by meteors, but they don't fall.
You know, I think we really gave the terrorist ideas with all of our action movies. How many times did we destroy the Twin Towers?
Oh, quite a few. Yeah. So you've got Bruce Willis trying to murder Greenpeace with golf balls. That's equally
okay.
90s.
That's okay to me. Yeah.
So, okay, this is there are problems. I
really?
will admit that.
There are
Scientific
problems?
inaccuracies aside, NASA apparently shows this to their management team to have them pick out everything that is wrong with the science in here, and they're up to like 168 or something. I forget, something crazy like that. But like, you've got the beginning scene when they're on the oil rig.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Willis's character is chasing Ben Affleck around with a shotgun, screaming about how dangerous
it is to run around with a shotgun?
No. He's screaming about how Ben Affleck's character put everybody in danger by drilling too deep or whatever, like, while he's screaming about Ben Affleck sleeping with his daughter, like, all this is going on at the same time. Isn't drilling too deep equally as dangerous as, like, shooting everything on the rig with a shotgun?
Well, yes.
Yeah. Oh, and when the rig actually starts to, like, go wrong and blow up, where is everybody jumping to? Did you notice that? Like, people just keep jumping places.
I don't think you're meant to actually pay attention to that. You're just supposed to look at the explosions.
I've never noticed it before, but they're literally, like, just jumping from, like, one flat surface to another. They're just cutting away before we see them do that.
Editing, my friend.
Yeah. And they keep hinting that, poor Steve Buscemi, they keep hinting that, like, he's slept with underage girls. And like I said earlier, like, he just didn't want to be the sleazy guy in this movie, and they made him the sleazy guy again.
Which is okay, I guess, because he definitely played it up.
Yeah, true.
He was like,
right.
You know what? Fine, fuck you. I guess I'll play the sleazy guy.
So before we go any further, I feel like, just in case you haven't seen this movie or don't know what it is, a meteor the size of Texas is coming to destroy the planet. The only way the planet can be saved is, according to the movie, the only way the planet can be saved is if we send up drillers. We don't train astronauts to be drillers. We train drillers to be astronauts to go up and drill a hole in this giant meteor. 800 feet is how far they need to go. And they need to stick a nuke down there to blow it up from the middle.
I think Ben Affleck asked Michael Bay, you know, like when they were filming, he was like, so why don't they just, and he just cussed him out.
Him to shut up.
Yeah.
The funny thing about it, I mean, they do explain it, and it makes sense in the movie. Like, they drillers know what to do, like, in the heat of things. That's why you've got a mix of astronauts and drillers on it. Astronauts know what to do when they're flying around space and something goes wrong, as we see in this movie. Drillers know what to do if something goes wrong when they're drilling stuff. So I get it. You know, I can let that go.
It's interesting that all the world's greatest drillers work on the same rig.
Well, he picked a good team. Well, they don't work on the same.
Oh, I do love that getting the team together sequence at the beginning. That's one of my favorite tropes in a film, is like when they're getting the team together.
Yeah, I really like that too. Like, just this motley crew of weirdos getting tattoos and motorcycle chases.
Yeah, like, I love when they did that in MacGruber and then just blew them all up.
I haven't seen MacGruber yet.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. They did that in Deadpool 2, though. Deadpool creates this whole team and then kills them in their first, mission. It's great.
So this was supposed to be a counterfilm to Deep Impact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They had a rivalry while filming it. Like, they just kept, talking shit on each other. Yeah. And Téa Leoni was in Deep Impact, and she was also in Bad Boys. So she knows Michael Bay, and I don't even remember what he said. Let me see if I can find it real quick. He was talking some kind of shit, and she's just like, "Oh, that's so Michael."
What's that one?
Oh, here it is. He compared Téa Leoni's star power to Bruce Willis. Oh, my star is so much better than Tara Leone. And she's like, that's so Michael, which is true. Peacocking jerk.
What's funny is I've read that Bruce Willis, and I've heard Bruce Willis is not a pleasant man to work with, and that makes me very sad.
Well, that's another thing. Nobody Bruce Willis didn't want to be here. He made them spend $175,000 on a trailer with a gym that he never even used. Ben Affleck famously didn't want to be there. Michael Bay doesn't even like this movie. Nobody wanted to do it.
Well, it did pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Udo Kier probably wanted to do it.
Udo Kier will do anything.
Udo Kier was probably really happy to be there.
He didn't have much of a role.
No, but he was, again, it's one of the best montage scenes I've ever seen. All of them, I don't know. That scene wouldn't have been quite as perfect without Udo Kier making goofy faces.
I love the penultimate moment for Steve Buscemi being a genius is just so he can tell them that they, landed the ship on a metal plate. Mm-hmm. It's that's all that. He worked at Princeton for 2 years and NASA didn't know this?
Yeah. I do like how often everybody's I'm the smartest man in the world. I'm the smartest man in the room. I like the ego driving everybody in this film.
Yeah. I would have loved a sequence at the end if they had shown newspapers and stuff in between the wedding video and showed people listening to 8-tracks.
Yeah, that would have been pretty funny too. The whole spit. Yeah, that would have been really good. They should have definitely done that. I have to go back real quick and say that none of them wanting to pay taxes again ever is probably one of the funniest lines I have ever heard in a movie. It's so perfectly
American
delivered and so perfectly American. Yeah. Imagine Bruce Willis wasn't even supposed to do this role. This was part of some shady. He was in some crap movie, and he was to do this movie and 2 others, which ended up being Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, to get out of this crap movie he was making.
Well,
so this was offered to Arnold Schwarzenegger, random people.
Well, to be honest, Bruce Willis probably wouldn't have gotten many more good roles if he hadn't been in Sixth Sense. People were just fed up with the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, he's doing a lot of bad movies.
This is also one of the last times this is the last time his hair was featured in film. Well,
Bruce, I wish you were a nicer guy. I'd like to think secretly he is.
So I really wish there was a version of this movie where they're all in the middle of a training montage and then all of a sudden just NASA gets destroyed by meteors like the rest of the world, and that's the end of the movie. That would be great. It's just this 45-minute short where the world just ends because they all died and NASA was destroyed. I also really, really want this to be a movie where they fail. You know what I mean? I really want them to go, I want the movie to be exactly the same way it is, but I want them to not explode it right or not explode it at all. And then I want there to be at least 2 sequels of people in this same world with the same attitude. Maybe the rest of the crew makes it back and finds a motley crew of survivors. And I want it to be this post-apocalyptic world with them. I want it to be the post-apocalyptic Michael Bay universe.
I'm sure Michael Bay has a movie like that.
I don't know.
Can you imagine if he remade Bloodsport? Oh, not Bloodsport. The other Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, Cyborg, yeah.
Manborg's a very different film.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, and do you notice how nobody cares even before they know the meteors are coming? Nobody cares New York was destroyed. It's not even mentioned.
Oh, well, they probably right before the meteors hit, they were I'm walking here.
Exactly.
That's
Or
a bad joke.
reviewing movies.
Yeah, I don't know. It's... Yeah.
They don't even mention... Like, NASA mentions it because they have to, but everybody else, like, it's just business as usual. New York's firing a fiery ball of rock, and everybody's just still doing their thing.
Well, they also didn't care that all those Asian people got killed, too.
No, but I can let that go because the mission's already happening, so we're not seeing...
Oh, I thought you were going to say because they're Asian?
No, of course not. But the mission's already happening, and they're already in space when that happens, right? Mm-hmm. So I can chalk that up to them not knowing it happened. But they're all very much on Earth when New York happens, because that's essentially the inciting incident.
I was sad that dog got killed.
The dog didn't get killed.
Oh, I thought he got killed.
We don't know the fate of the dog or its owner. The last time we see the dog is when he's like hanging in the crater and the dude pulls him out.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so we don't know. Which
was such a weird cameo for that actor.
Yeah, he was a pretty big comedian at the time. I can't remember his name, though.
I wish I could.
So I have this other note when I was watching the movie that the launch pads for the ships seemed very, very close to one another. And there's no way this is real. Michael Bay made this up. But that's an actual launch.
Oh, that's weird.
Like, they cameraed up like this entire like area to film that launch. And apparently
they don't launch two at once.
I don't know. I mean, it's. I'm not going to dig through all this stuff again, but those launches were filmed as they happened. Huh. Yeah, whether they happened like further apart or I don't know, but like, yeah, they got like all this access to all this stuff, and they put their own cameras up. In fact, they returned one of the cameras in pieces because the vibrations of the rockets, like, vibrated the camera apart, and the company had to put it back together for them.
So, did you read about the awards this film got? No?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, Bruce Willis won a Golden Razzie and a Stinker for Worst Actor. And I don't really think that's very fair because he did a solid job playing the sort of character he always plays.
I don't know. Maybe it's my daddy issues, but this movie really hits me in the feels.
Yeah. Well, Blockbuster thought that he deserved the Favorite Actor in a Sci-Fi Film Award. And somehow this movie tied with Dark City for Saturn's Best Sci-Fi Film. So,
See, now if I had to put this up against Dark City, I'd pick Dark City.
Well, yeah. I mean, even though Dark City is also very dated, I would still pick Dark City over Armageddon.
What does this even say?
What does what say? Your notes?
After the wreck, AJ... Oh, I remember. Okay. So when AJ's... I forget the names of the shuttles, but when AJ's... when Ben Affleck's...
There's like Independence and Freedom or something.
Yeah, Freedom and Independence. That's it. I don't remember which is which, so it doesn't matter. When his wrecks... Like he finds his friend or something. They completely ruin all sort of sense of sadness and emotion when he finds the body or whatever, because he makes this sound. It's like, oh God! It's this weird little funny cry he makes.
Again, it's another example of telling Ben Affleck to act like a human, and it doesn't quite. The circuits don't connect.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess if you look at him as a robot, that's a good point.
All of his movies make more sense if you look at him that way.
I also have a note here that says, are people really this illogical? Yes, they are. And I think what I mean here is, like, nobody's listening to the smart people in the room in the beginning. They all want to, like, technically... See, here's another problem. This whole shooting nukes at the meteor, that's actually what we would do. Mm-hmm. And chances are, if we hit it with enough, it would knock it off course. Mm-hmm. So that's an actual plan that would probably work that we just ignored. But in the movie world, they're saying that won't work, and nobody's listening to the logical people or the scientists saying that it would work, which is a very nice mirror to what's going on in the world right now. Mm-hmm. Nobody's listening to science. Nobody's listening to logic.
Yeah, let's quarantine the sick people. No, let's just not give out any kits.
Yes. Oh, All right, okay, another problem I have is AJ was right in the end to drill deeper and harder, but it was pure luck. It had nothing to do with skill. He just believed he believed a machine wouldn't break. And
well, he's like a race car driver, you know? He knew that machine better than a computer, and he's also a robot, so it takes one to know one.
I guess he can interface with everything.
Mm-hmm. You see, it makes so much more sense now, doesn't it?
And why did you catch, like, in the end after everything's okay and the celebration scene, that all of a sudden there are like 50s and 60s children running around and doing things 50s and 60s children would do in like the same kind of like overalls and stuff?
There were 50s and 60s children when they were like all getting ready for the world to be destroyed. Like, I was thinking that too. I was like, why do these little boys have buzz cuts and overalls?
It's just Michael Bay doesn't understand middle America. Like, he's just this rich maniac that's been like in cities for so long that he doesn't realize that, maybe they don't have as much money as you, but they're not 40 years behind us. Like, it just showed how out of touch people are, I think.
It reminds me of this Indian movie I watched a few years ago, Doom 3, that like this flashback scene was supposed to be set in like the 80s or like early 90s. And they were in Chicago, and the kids had like messenger boy caps, and they were dressed like little children from like the 1920s. And I was like, what the hell? It's because they were poor.
But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much everything I've got for this movie. Like, if you've got daddy issues, I think this is a really good movie. I think the reason I love it so much is because I'm a boy with daddy issues. You know what I mean? Because this is a very manly film. There's like one girl in the entire thing. Granted, she's badass and she holds her own when they actually let her have dialogue.
You know, I felt the same way about the Final Girls because my mom has always been one of my best friends, and that connected to me in the same way this connects to you.
Yeah.
So I get you.
Yeah. But yeah, you don't like it?
I didn't hate it. I thought it was a fun movie. I didn't have strong feelings about it. I didn't hate it though.
For the time,
it's a good movie to watch with your friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. For the time, considering it's a space movie, like it was pretty well shot too. Like everything looks pretty realistic. I mean, I imagine it was a lot of CGI, a lot of wire work, a lot of models, like sort of mixing all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think it works really well. It doesn't look as bad as a lot of movies filmed at that time did.
I can appreciate when movies are striking out and trying to do something new and trying to push it further. It doesn't always work. And I think that the fact that they did push the envelope and made it work speaks volumes for, you know, the crew involved, the designers, the director even. I'm not a big Michael Bay fan at all, but I think this is probably one of his best movies.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a big Michael
Bay
fan.
I didn't hate it.
I really, you know what? I want to real quick. Let's go through some Michael Bay movies, and I'll tell you which ones I like and which ones I don't like. Let's play that game real quick.
Okay, well, I don't like any of the Transformers.
Hold on, I'm not even there yet. Jesus Christ.
Him and whatever Bowl should do a movie together, see what happens.
Uwe Boll? Oh, no, because Uwe Boll's actually bad.
Oh, but it would be funny if they did team up.
All right, so he's got another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming, and apparently he's rebooting what he's already rebooted. That's weird, right?
Well, some people do that. Like the director of The Shaft The Lift remade it in English as The Shaft. So,
all right, now we're here. Director stuff. He only produced that stuff, so that was producer. All right, so Robopocalypse, haven't seen it. Six Underground, haven't seen it. Transformers Last Night, haven't seen it. All right, let's get to stuff I have seen. Transformers are all pretty bad, but some of them are super fun.
They might be fun for the people who like Transformers, so I'll give them a pass on that.
Yeah. Actually, I bet those fanboys probably hate it because it didn't do their Transformers justice.
There was an End of the World one with The Rock that I hated. Not End of the World, it was like earthquakes or something. I don't even remember. It was a big deal when it came out.
Are you sure that was...
It was like a skyscraper.
You sure that was Michael Bay? I don't think that was Michael Bay.
No, that was Michael Bay. That had to be.
Well, I'm looking at his director stuff. Was it 13 Hours? Because that doesn't sound like the plot to 13 Hours. No. 13 Hours is about them.
San Andreas.
Yeah, I don't think that's Michael Bay.
Are you sure?
I mean, you can check, but I'm pretty sure it's not. To be fair, there's a whole lot of stuff that you think is Michael Bay that isn't Michael Bay.
It just felt like a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah,
Well, I hated
like
that
Con
movie.
Air. Con Air is not a Michael Bay movie.
Well, I wouldn't think it was. It was excellently written.
I totally thought for years
Con Air is awesome.
was a Michael Bay movie.
Put the bunny back
Well, let's see. The Rock. The Rock is a Michael Bay movie, and that's fantastic. All the Bad Boy movies are great.
I liked the one I saw recently, but I haven't seen the others.
I haven't seen the newest one yet.
The newest one is the only one I've seen. I mean, I predicted the ending, but...
So, holy crap, before Bad Boys, he was like a music video director. He did the video for I Touch Myself by the Divinals, Wilson Phillips, Lionel Richie,
Well, you
Meat
see a
Loaf.
lot of directors from his generation being like transitional from music videos and a lot of them are actually pretty good directors.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Finch did all kinds of music videos, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. Fincher.
Whatever. Finchley.
But yeah, I think that's about all I got. I mean, I could go on and on about how much I love this movie, but that would be weird.
Okay. Well, I've fashioned all these chairs together from the movie theater that we're still in and made a crude ladder, kind of shaped like a Christmas tree. So I'm going to start climbing up this, and you're going to follow me if you want to get out of here and live, Corey. But first, we got to tell people about Hallow-Holic.blogspot.com or Hallow-Holic.wordpress.com.
I don't want to.
Well, we got to.
Oh, okay. So you can wait. Isn't it your turn first?
No, it's my turn. I just said it.
Oh, you did. You're right. You did. You can also tweet us at Twitter.
Don't tweet us at Facebook. We won't answer.
No, that won't make any sense. Tweet us at Twitter at Nowhere23 or search for Hallow-Holics.
You can also email us at hallowholics@outlook.com. Don't email us at Twitter. You want to tweet us at Twitter.
Right. Email us at our email. Tweet us at Twitter. So, I'm not going to follow you up there. I'm going to stay down here with this priest that looks a whole lot like that man. Oh, it's him.
Oh, great. Well, wait, when did he is he disguised or is he a priest now?
No, he won't tell me. I think he thinks he's a priest, but he really wants me to tell you to go to Podpedia and search for our portal, HHA.
Oh, and he just made a sign of the cross.
Yeah, I don't think he's serious. In fact, I think he made it upside down. I couldn't tell, though.
Next week we'll be talking about Dagon.
Fishman movie.
Yeah, well, pretty much, yeah, but Lovecraftian Fishman movie. Yes, because next week's Lovecraft.
And we'll be talking about Color Out of Space as well. And I imagine we will try our best to distance ourselves from the racism that is Lovecraft's personal life. So please tune in for that. Goodbye, Maddie.
Well, hold on. Before you leave me and get murdered, wait, you just told people about Podpedia. So climb up here with me. But first we need to talk about Corey, think about the next episode. We've got to record that. You have something to live for once in your life.
All right, I'm coming.